Welcome in, everyone. This video, we're going to be going through a little bit around my team and how we're best setting up for round 19 and how it can affect you and your setup for that week especially. Obviously, the next few is pretty important. This one here is a tough one in round 17. Round 18, we usually have a bunch of Eels players there, which is going to make a good 17 hard to get on the park. And then round 19 is going to be difficult as well. And what I'm noticing here is a lot of issues in the mids and the edges. Not issues in terms of the players and how they're going, unless you've got Trent Leoro like myself, but in the fact that a lot of us are getting in, a lot of edges or mids have extra, and you can't play them all. And what we're seeing is potentially the hooking position, like myself, with Robson, Cook, Turpin, who aren't playing in 19. I know a lot of people have between Simpkin, Little, potentially Jeremy Marshall-King, and maybe looking at a few of the other potential options like Brendan Hands at the moment, to be able to fill that slot. But that's a bit of an issue. Obviously, the wing fullback position is a bit of an issue as well. Some people are going to find it tough if they do trade out Connolly Lemuelu in round 19 as well. So let's have a little deep dive into that, but also how to build your final 17. That's going to be an important one here. And then we do have a bunch of pictures to go through of people's teams also. So thank you very much for still watching at this point. If you still have trades left like myself, I know there's a few that have 0 trades and are still watching. So thank you for that as well. Let's go through the squad here and what we're going to be looking at into round 19. So my squad has a lot of wing fullbacks, and Dream Buller for one of them. He's going to be one of my starting players in round 19, which is going to be great. So what we're looking at there is Buller, and then we have Chance as well. So they're my two at the moment. So the big question mark this week is, do you go for one of the cheaper guys? Someone like Blake Taff is a little bit of an awkward one. You have Tyrell Sloan as another one there. And really, that's the bulk of those kind of wing fullback cheapies. If you're looking at the halves or the hookers, Brendan Hands is likely going to play in round 19 as well. So it's likely what you should be looking at when you're trying to pick a cheaper guy. Yes, under 350. Tyrell Sloan's sitting at 345, but his score is going to be very up and down. You could use him as a player or potentially a looper in this week for sure. And you know that he's likely going to have his spot for the longer term. Whereas guys like Sanders Smith, Hands is likely to be there longer term, but what kind of role is that going to be? Sanders Smith's a chance not to have it. Blake Taff, it's an awkward one for sure, but 265k. He'll play this week. He'll play in round 19 as well with the Troll being out. Potential for him to even play next week, but we'll see how that one plays out. But what you're looking at there is just filling the correct spots for those certain weeks. And then you look at the mid and the edge position. You look at my squad there, and if we threw Bateman back into the edge position, obviously he's on a bye this week, but for round 19, I have DeBell and Harris Horsburgh playing in my mids, Bateman and Hopgood. So at the moment, I've been looking forward to next week being able to get IPAP in my side, but unless there's an injury to one of the mids or the edges, it seems like a bit of a waste. You're trading him in for one score in round 18, which is awesome, and then you don't get one of your middles or your edges scores in round 19. And look, you could pick and choose, but really there is a little bit of chance of an injury or a suspension to happen in those couple of weeks, in both this week and also in round 18. So that could be something as well that allows me to bring IPAP in. But that's just some of the forward thinking you do need to do, because I really want him in my side, but it's not going to be worth it to be able to get a strong 13 on the park in round 19. The positions I'm lacking in at the moment is the hooking position, as we said, and one fullback. Every other position now is completely set for round 19, which is good. So I have 11 playing currently, 5 trades remaining. The likely one trade this week, if everyone backs up from Origin, would be to fill one of those two positions. So it's likely going to be Brendan Hands that can cover the hooker and obviously the halves as well, but we likely don't need him for the halves with Johnson and Hines being there for the most part. So Oluwapu can go to one of the cheap guys. It could be to a Tyrell Sloan very comfortably, with him being at 345k. Brings me up to about 100k in the bank for next week. Or Brendan Hands just brings me a little bit extra, about 130, 140 in the bank for next week. If everyone backs up, as I said, so that means Robson would play. And Coach, we don't really know a lot of late mail at the moment, which is very frustrating. But Coach kind of said there in the late mail, it says that Coach said that all 5 of the guys are expected to back up. The big thing with the Cowboys is they do need to win. So the more times these guys can back up, the better, obviously, there as well. And they did have a buy in round 15, so that's helpful. A buy in round 15 and then a lot of these guys got put into Origin camp. So they did not play footy for a couple of weeks. So with them playing on Sunday, I can see why they are expected to back up. Cotter did have less minutes when he backed up last time, and they do have Granville to be able to cover some of Robson's minutes. But if he can come out and be really aggressive in sort of a 60-minute role, he's still going to be able to score somewhere in the 40s, you'd imagine, unless he picks up some attacking stats there. So yeah, if those guys all back up, like I said, I will have a guy to loop this week, which is very cool. So Robson comes back into 17. I then can loop between Sloan, Lemuelu, and Trent Leoro, which is going to be cool. So, Lemuelu has the dual position, so you can hang on the bench there. You got Leoro as the edge, and then can make a decision on Sloan, given I have plenty of wing fullbacks at the moment, and can use Buller as the looping guy for the wing fullback position as well. So likely would be able to loop all positions if we grabbed a Sloan or if we grabbed a Taff. They're the two options down below, and then up top it's Brennan Hands, and that would give me that extra player for round 19. And then if I went for the wing fullback, I would only have to fill the hooking position, and I'm sitting here hoping that Damien Cook does not make Origin in game 3. My theory with that is they do need Burton in the side. I think he will come in definitely. And does Cook make way? Reason for that being he wasn't picked in game 1. He's only picked in game 2 because they had the injury to Api Coruscant. So with his age and everything, it's a dead rubber. Why would you have him in there? They look like they liked Robson and were really impressed with him getting through the 80 minutes. Maybe he has to play 65 or 70 with Murray or someone coming in to 9, but Freddie doesn't want to play Murray either. So yeah, I'm hoping at this point, if I do go the wing fullback route, that we hear that Cook doesn't make Origin and he can be my round 19 hooker. If not, there's obviously some options over the next few weeks as well with Moses, Cook, Robson, all those guys being potential trade outs. And that could be this week as well. And I'm really not sure who I would pick up if they are out. Tanner Boyd is an option for this week, but is he the long-term solution? I'm not sure. So let's have a look at the amount of keepers in each position in our squad at the moment, and potentially the amount of trades we would have to use to get to our final 17, because that's the most important part. Let's say we out of the 8 we get in round 20, we take away 3, just 3 at a minimum, that is not going to net us a keeper or a cash down. Okay, it's going to be just to replace a keeper, right? So an injury, a suspension, whatever that is, it's going to straight swap keeper to keeper. So I'm not gaining at all during that time. So that would leave me, at the moment I have 13, that would leave me with 10 trades to be able to make cash downs and make upgrades to keepers at the moment. So we look at the squad, and who are these guys in my team am I likely not to move on from at all? You'd imagine DeBellin, Harris, and Horsburgh are all very much safe in this side. They're both averaging, all 3 of them are averaging over 55. Harris a little bit lower in recent time, but I think that week off is going to help him, and he's definitely a keeper. He'd be an easy sort of 16th, 17th man in the squad. So there's 3. Hopgood, you'd say, is the 4th, given he has a 60 average, probably a little bit lower for the rest of the year with the players that Eels have back, but that's 4 in that position. The question mark comes here with the half position. So at the moment, I clearly have 3 in Hines, Moses, and Johnson. Am I going to have to trade a Moses next week? He's going to miss 18 and 19. Is that something that we do? And we also are likely going to be wanting to get Cleary at some point. So could Moses go to any other position next week? Potentially. If we do hold him, let's say that we do, then that would be 7 in this side that we have. But we'll keep it 6/7 because we may have to trade him out for obviously his buy and for Origin there. We haven't gone to hooker yet, so we'll go to there. But Damien Cook and Robson, let's just say we have 1 keeper in that position, because I'd imagine 1 of Robson and Cook is going to be traded at this point. So that leaves us with 8. In the center position, I think it's clearly Manu as our gun. We do have Penasini and also Lemuelu. I'd say we're likely to be keeping one of those 2, which makes sense. So let's just say those 2 are keepers as well. That's 10. We then come to the wing fullback position, and we have plenty of players there. It's Buller, it's Tedesco, it's Ponga, it's Drinkwater, and it's Nickel Klukstar. So out of those 5, you'd definitely say Ponga is a keeper. I think you're likely to say that the Drinkwater is a keeper, and you say Teddy would be as well. So let's lock in with those 3, and the other 2 can be borderline and used as trade pieces. So that leaves us with 13, which is cool at this point, and no one else. And then Bateman is our other man on the bench. So 14 keepers at this point, and then a mixture of those mid-range guys. So that's what you should be looking at with your side, guys. So go and do this after this video. Make sure you watch it all, because you're all legends and you love my You love my content, thank you. But you're going to head to your side and just go through that yourself. And from that point there, I have 14 keepers. And what's it going to take? What's it likely going to take to get to 17 keepers in this side? I think it's likely going to take 2 cash downs. So 2 cheap guys, potentially a complete 220 red dot in round 20 or 21. Might likely be the way to go, 21 maybe, after you get through the tough round 20 as well. So that leaves you 7 rounds there to be able to get through with 1 cash down, completely cash down. You probably have one, like the trade I'm going to make, that I'm likely going to make this week, whether it's Oluwapu to Brendan Hands, or Oluwapu to Taff, or to Sloan. They're all disgusting options, let's be honest with you here. But they're going to serve a purpose for our squad. One of those to any of those players would be 1 trade so far out of the 10. And that gives you a secondary kind of cash down, but a guy that's probably going to play each week, like a Sloan, like a Hands, these types of guys. So that would be the second guy. And I think it's probably hard to play it any further than that with a third cash down type of guy, because when you get to round 21, round 22, these type of rounds there where you have Dolphins, you have Warriors having a bye, you get to a point where the Cowboys have another bye, the Bunnies, the Eels, these types of teams where you have probably 2, sometimes 3 players, it's going to be very hard to have that extra cash down. So let's just stick with 2 cheapy cash down guys in your squad. So that's 2 trades out of there, which allows me from that point to get 2 more keepers. So I'm going to get to 16 at that point. So that's 6 trades used out of the 10. Sorry, that's 4 trades used out of the 10. Leaves me with 6 to go to make any upgrades from there. So you'd imagine at one point there's going to be, you're going to be probably holding 1 or 2 of those 500-ish thousand guys to be able to get through to that next level. And obviously in the centers, you can have a high 500s guy or a 600 guy to get through as a keeper. Is there going to be a guy that comes through that is a 500, 600 type of guy in sort of a really important position like an edge, a mid, a hooker, these types of guys that are able to come in and get big minutes and an increased role and be able to do a decent job? For sure. But if you've run out of trades by that point, that's going to be something that you cannot go for. You cannot go for that slight risk of a guy that's coming through, or if you've run out of trades by that point, maybe it comes up next week or the week after, and if you've run out, you won't be able to make that type of trade. But just being aware that if you are a little bit lower than me, then you take off that 3, maybe 4. It's probably more than that, to be fair. Then you won't have the flexibility to be able to make those types of moves, and you're really only going to be replacing guys that get injured or suspended, and probably make that 1 cash down to upgrade there as well. So this year is going to be harder than ever to be able to set yourself up perfectly for a terrific 17 or 18 come the end of the year, just because of the ability to not have probably 3 cash downs. Because if you do have those 3 cash downs, as I said, you're likely going to be playing with 15 or 16 good players and a couple of duds in those weeks when there are buys. So more than ever, it's probably worth being fluid as you can. Maybe it is having one of those guys like a Sloan that does play, it does score somewhere around that 25 to let's say 15 to 40 on any given week. And sometimes you do have to try and loop him, or you do have to hope that he goes all right. Very much the same with Brendan Hands. When he starts to split the role with Hodgson come later in the year, that's you get him on a good week. And he can help you out, because I think majority of teams are going to be like that, unless you're sitting with some ridiculous team value up in towards the 15 million mark, where you can have sort of 18, 19, 20 really, really good players, which majority of teams want. I'm sitting in a great position at 129, and you're seeing it's still going to be difficult for me to get the perfect amount of 18, 19 really good guns. It's going to take a lot of trades to be able to get there. You can see that I was just thinking about it when I'm talking to you here, is I can get to 16 fairly easy, but then it's like marginal upgrades and downgrades with these 500k guys, because you're probably going to want a 450, 500k type of guy that can get you a 40 on a given week, a 35, 45, and then you can upgrade the other guy to the gun. It's going to hit you that 55 or so average. So that's it, where you're looking from an overall perspective. From a head-to-head perspective, it doesn't change too much from this point. You're looking at guys in that mid-range at the moment. There's no one really of note that's going to come up and score a 50 on a regular basis. Jake Turpin was one of the last guys to be able to do that. Jake Simkin potentially can do it. Jacob Little. There's obviously a few options there of guys that can do it. Simkin, obviously, having the bye this week hurts in the potential to pick him up. And he's actually somebody that I will look at as a secondary cash down option next week. So likely to go a wing fullback, and then it could be Simpkin either in round 18 or 19 as a few week option that's going to play off the bench and do half a job in certain weeks down the track. But yeah, head-to-head perspective, it doesn't really change too much at this point. You're looking at bringing in those guns, and maybe this is a week to pick up one or two of the Origin guns, whether it's an Isaiah Yeo, whether it's a Harry Grant, these types of players. Whereas as an overall perspective, they're still going to miss likely a week or two and have some backup games as well, where they're not likely to play the full 80 or something like that. So that's how I want to speak about your teams and where you're at the moment with getting your good round 19 team together, but then thinking longer term. Obviously, round 20 we have a big buy as well with the Raiders, the Dragons, and also the Rabbitohs. They're out as well. So if you have one of those straight cash downs that is going to play that week, that could be pretty frustrating as well. So definitely have a look at the type of players you're looking to grab into your side for sure. So let's get into a few of our teams there in number 2, which we're going to go through here. And the squad here is pretty funky. Let's be honest there. We've got a lot of words on this page. So we have Robson sitting in there. We're hoping that he's going to play. We have Billy Smith that's still sitting in this side. You obviously got Garrick Edwards. He's a keeper, but he's a keeper / a hold for sure, by the way. Sitting on this bench, currently we've got 15 playing. So not super ideal, obviously, at this point, but Robson likely to play, it sounds like. Murdoch Masila is another player in this team, which is not good. So in this case, you want to be probably trading out a Harrison Edwards, for example there. He's more of the ASAP trade than anyone else, just because he's going to be someone that you need to flip that money to make some cash. Oluwapu as well, 3 trades left, 39k in the bank. Does make it a little bit difficult. So that's maybe where making that marginal 1 trade or 2 trades there. Edwards can go to hopefully some type of mid-range solid scorer type of thing. Colin Matungi's he probably won't get that high, will you? But some of those mid-range guys that could do all right. Maybe you do need a center. Looks like he's potentially looking at a Turpin, Gagai, Penasini, Bird. All solid, pretty expensive though. So how you get to that point is going to be difficult. With 3 trades left, I think you might have to hold the arrow for this week for sure. But it might be Oluwapu down to one of those cheapies that I spoke about. Could be a Sandon Smith in your case. Considering you do have a fair few round 19 players, which is lovely. And then you can upgrade Edwards to someone in the 600. So that's what I'd be looking at in this situation. Obviously, the limited trades doesn't help at all. But it is what it is sometimes. It is how it works out for sure. But that's Lem. That's this team at this point. Lemuelu, you have to hold the 3 trades. If you're doing 1 or 2 there, that leaves you with 1. And yes, it's going to help you this week, but you're going to be in a bit of trouble in round 18 or round 19 there as well. Let's go to team number 3 there, and a lovely team name for sure. 7,500 is the rank. Loving your work recently, Jamie. Not all heroes wear capes, but you do. Thank you very much. Long time watcher, first time poster. Good to hear. Made plenty of ranks in round 16, but this week I will lose some cash. All right. Lose some ranks, I should say. Made 1 trade already, which is Oluwapu to hands. Okay. I think you're trading Ramian and maybe Lem, but will most likely hold. So you have 6 trades remaining. Out for a wing fullback that plays 19, like an Asako or Brimo, but I need Ramian for round 19. Anyway, so your wing fullback position, you have Buller out. So you're currently sitting there with 4, and then you have a bunch of centers with Ramian as the extra one. Cool. Preston, Papali'i, Hopgood, Butcher as the edges. Totola. Okay. Yeah, so you got plenty of round 19 mids and edges again, so you don't need to touch that position. Hand's going to help you in round 19, which is cool. You then have, the issue of wing fullback in round 19 as well. Okay, you could grab a Sarko for sure, but who would you be trading out? That's the question. You might have to go for one of the cheaper wing fullbacks. You do have Simpkin already. With Simpkin already, I don't know if you go for hands. Maybe you go for one of those cheaper wing fullbacks now. Or you go Oluwapu to hands, gives you some cash in the bank. Actually, you've already done that. And then you can go upgrading from there, from Ramian. Doesn't really give you enough, so it's a bit of a tough one, man. Like the 1 trade, 2 trades could be the play. Brimo could be the option. Obviously, you want the cheaper guy, but I'm not super excited on him at the moment. He's going to be an up and down type of scorer for sure. Should be looking to make more trades to field a 17 this week, or just play with 15 this round and save my trades. I think for you, man, getting a couple extra on the park is going to be good. So at least one more would be sweet. Just the options are fairly limited, to be honest with you, unless you're trading out a keeper, which I wouldn't suggest you doing. I wouldn't suggest you trade a Papali'i Bulla. You could trade Preston this week to get a gun, but then next week you're going to want him. And if there's any injuries in rounds sort of 18 or this week here, you're going to want Preston in your edge in round 19. So there's a few things to think about there. Maybe you do grab one of the cheaper wing fullbacks now as all, but that would leave you with 3 cheaper guys, but some cash in the bank for next week. So definitely an option there, mate. And then number 4, we're going to go for this team here. There's a lot going on. This ranking here, 33.98, which is a good position. All the outs this week have crosses, so there you go. So 7 confirmed outs. At least 14 available this week. Maybe 3 maybe outs with Origin. Walsh could be in trouble for sure. Nicarima 50-50. Lem bench. Oh my God, you've had a tough week. So with 4 trades left, I'd suggest at an early basis just making 2 this week. I personally think David Clemmer is the clear one to go. It could be Clemmer and it could be Oluwapu in this one. That's probably where I'll be looking at. If you do hear of Nicarima being dropped, then he could be an out as well. You may have to make 3 this week. If you do lose Nicarima as well, I think you probably have to make 3 and then try and get through from there. How good's Jakey Granville been for your squad for sure? Lemuelu, I think you just 100% have to hold. Nicarima might be your issue as well. Ride the wave of this week, knowing he's going to be a poor and make more knowledgeable trades next week, knowing the outcome of these 50-50 decisions. I think you just have to be very fluid during the week. You do have 599k in the bank, which I think is absolutely absurd. The times I see people with like 600 in the bank, I'm like, wow. 300, okay, some weeks you do it, but 600 is a bit ridiculous. So, Clemmer can go to anyone you want. You can then go Oluwapu to anyone you want. So I would personally just go with those 2 trades at a minimum, and then hold 2 for next week. See what you can do with that. Oluwapu, Clemmer. Yeah, we'll go Clemmer to a Hasio, would be fun. And Nicarima could potentially be a third one as well. So you could go Clemmer to one of those top guns. You get Oluwapu to a Bird or something like that if you want, for sure. So with the 600 spare, I could trade anyone out. Yeah, you definitely can, which would be very, very cool in that one as well. And then the last one, which we forgot to pop in, is number 1. And this team was giving it to me, unfortunately. Thank you for sending me your team, that last fella there as well. Let's make this bigger just to finish this off. So, all right. Hi, Jamie. Catch me if you can. He's just gone ahead of me, 72 with a big rank last week. No trades left. So I'm definitely going to be catching you. Let's just say that. The squad this week is Payne Haas, is Grant, is Cook. All those guys going to back up. Here's Metcalf. Okay, so sitting there with 16 coming into this week, not too bad. Oh, and Eli Katoa out as well. Yuck. Anyway, he wants to say, thought this would be a good one to analyze because I have no trades left. Curious to see your thoughts about where my rank ends up after Origin period. Well, 258k in the bank as well with no trades. That hurts. And who to target post-Origin. So, yeah, look, with your squad at the moment, obviously Eli Katoa will return next week, it sounds like, which will be good, but you don't have him for round 19. In terms of round 19, guys, you do have Hopgood, Preston at the moment. You have your 3 mids. So, unfortunately, someone like Bateman, Preston, or whoever you decide is not going to be a player for you in round 19. So, that hurts. You have Metcalf and Johnson. Does Metcalf keep his spot? That's going to be a question mark. Does, Fainu stay out of the side? So, that one obviously hurts you as well. Fainu and Katoa. Yeah, I think you'll still end up okay, but your wing fullbacks, you're going to have Buller, Nickel, Klukstar with the Vice 6 week. How good. Yes, you'll be short 1 in 19 there. You'll be short 1 in potentially in the hooking position. Is that right? Yeah, so you're going to be short a couple. Nothing crazy, but probably 2. Obviously holding Lem. Center, you're going to be short as well. Yeah. So 3 short in round 19. So you probably do end up sitting in the, without any trades, you probably go back to about 250, 300, 400, I'd say. But then obviously the 8 trades, you can go from there. And you do have a lot of the top guns already in Grant Haas, guys that we're going to be looking for. So they're guys that, you can push towards over the next few weeks. Other people will be pushing towards over the next few weeks, but you have them already. So hopefully they don't get injured. And then you can just make some upgrades in, obviously, the half position for you. Hines, Johnson, maybe 1 more would be cool. You're very much stacked in the hooking position. I wouldn't be touching that really with Cook, Grant. Turpin, obviously, he'll be a trade out. Center, you may have to look at something if Lemuelu doesn't end up being the best position, but overall you're sitting really good, man. I'm impressed with where you're at, and that's gonna be the video for this one. I hope that really helped a lot of you guys. That was a lot of fun, obviously going through final trades and everything like that. So good luck this week. It's gonna be a fun one. Hopefully we find out a little bit more in late mail because it's been nothing so far. See you guys.